Right, good afternoon. Welcome to our Microcare weekly live video on our YouTube channel. As always, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. We're talking solar. We are South Africa's oldest manufacturer of electronics, of course, inverters, pump controllers, geyser controllers, and now electric vehicle chargers as well. And every week we chat a little bit about solar. We talk about some of our products. We talk about some applications. Last week we gave you a little tour of our new mini grid that we are preparing for a really cool project here in the Eastern Cape. And it looks like we're going to do some more of those projects around the country. So today we're going to be answering some of your questions, and thank you for sending them in. As always, you can contact us sales@microcare.co.za. And in answering the question for today, I also want to talk a little bit about winter time. In South Africa, we're entering winter, heading towards the shortest day of the month in the next little while, or shortest day of the year in the next month, I should say. And so we're getting a little bit less solar production now. Should I be making any changes to our system? So those are the things we're going to chat about today. So recently I was asked by one of our local residents to come and have a look at their solar system. It wasn't a Microcare system, and they asked for some advice. And basically the idea was that they had this system that they invested in money a couple of years ago, and they're not really seeing a return on their investment. And they're trying to understand why. They're not really getting the savings every month. The savings are pretty much not there. It's going to take them more than 10 years to get the return on investment. And the idea behind that is if I'm spending 100,000 Rand on a solar system and I'm saving maybe 1,000 Rand of electricity a month, it's going to take me 100 months without inflation, all that, to get my money back. That's quite a long time. We're really trying to look for something between 3 and 5 years. So that means it's going to be properly designed and really working efficiently. And as I arrived at the premises, at the home of this individual, I discovered straight away a couple of things which I picked up on. Firstly, it is an imported inverter. It has a built-in MPPT. And if you go look at our MPPT videos, you'll see that we've been speaking a little bit about how these built-in MPPTs are not always as well performing as what we see with some of the other products where the MPPT is separate, particularly with Microcare. One of the key things that was wrong here was that this inverter only had 2 MPPT inputs, which means I could have 2 strings of panels coming in. And if I do a little drawing here, and let's call this sort of north facing, sort of the house and the roofs weren't quite facing north. In fact, there was one little section that was sort of north where they had a couple of panels, but this part of the house was sort of like a frame like this, had a couple of panels on this side and then some panels over there. And what was happening is that the sun, particularly in winter, was not quite getting to these panels. So panels on this roof, panels on this east facing, and then it was a bit southwest actually. So there's 2 things here. Clearly, these panels are not really doing a lot of work. They're not really getting a lot of sunshine, and only really in winter, a little bit of afternoon sun. You can imagine in summer, it's a lot better. But secondly, because there are 2 MPPTs connected onto this, or inserts into this inverter, 2 inputs, you've got sort of 3 different directions of panels facing here. Now, some of our earlier videos, we spoke about solar panels and direction and time of use and sun hours. And please go and have a look at some of those videos if you're getting into solar and trying to understand how we make power. But in this instance, you can see I've got 3 clear different directions of panels. One that's north facing, one that's sort of a bit northeast, and then this sort of southwest facing. Not ideal, particularly for winter when the sun's coming in this direction. So one of the other problems here is not only that it's facing sort of perhaps the wrong way and needs to be changed, is that there's only 2 strings of inputs on this inverter. And clearly we've got 3 different inputs here. So somehow this installer, who unfortunately is no longer around, they've made their money and they've left and no longer in the industry, are not to be found. And so this user now is a bit stuck with an inefficiently designed system. So really, where you should have 3 strings of inputs, 3 separate MPPTs, really dealing with the individual needs of the different directions, you've now got sort of it all mixed and matched. And so there's a real need for a new configuration of the panels, the string lineup, and to make better use of this panel. So we're gonna sort this client out. But it's a key lesson for us. When it comes to putting up solar panels, people just put them up without really understanding what is the optimal angle. When am I going to get the most efficiency? Because if you get this wrong, your return on investment is completely thrown out the window. So please make sure that you are considering the right application for your panels. And if you don't understand it, get hold of someone who does understand it and can help you understand. Ideally, we want north facing, but in many circumstances, we can't do north facing. In this scenario, we had a north, south, east, and a west. So please get hold of us and consider that. Right. So that's the one thing. We're going to sort this client out. We're going to make sure that their strings get sorted out and make sure they're facing the right direction as well to get optimal power from your solar panels. And then secondly, this is really important as it comes to winter time now. With this short day coming up, we're going to have less and less power, up to 40% less than in summertime. And I'm starting to see it on my own home, on our factory here as well. The production has dropped off quite a bit. So the question from the end user was, should I make some adjustments to my inverter and MPPT setup? And that's the great thing about the microcare system, of course. You can adjust your settings for different times of the year. So here's a little rule. Basically, 3. Remember 3. If I'm getting a full charge on my batteries at least every 3 days, don't make any changes. If you're getting a full charge every day, well, that's better. But if it's every 4 or 5 days or once a week, then you need to make an adjustment. We need to look at the AC run-to voltage, the DC run-to voltage, and make sure that your battery is protected and looked after. So the rule is 3. At least every 3 days, you need to be getting a full charge into your battery. Now, there's lots of setting changes we can make on a microcare system to optimally find your system setup. Recently, I went to a client here in Port Elizabeth, Kabeja, who had a system installed. We let it run for a week or 2. Then we had the data to be able to just make a few adjustments to get them to at least every 3 days getting a full charge. Now, it can be confusing for the end user, but it's important that that is put in place to make sure that your system runs optimally. I know a lot of these imported products, you don't really have this ability to adjust, and so you just leave it and let it run. And that's where we really miss out on getting a good return on your investment. Microcare inverters and MPPTs, you can set them up, you can adjust them, you can accommodate your lifestyle or the demand that there is. In fact, I've seen often clients could get more use out of their solar panels by just making a few setting adjustments. So contact the Microcare team. But remember the rule of 3. Every 3 days when it comes to winter, if you're not getting a full charge in your battery, 98, 99%, or 55.2 volts in your 16-cell lithium-ion batteries, please make sure you contact your installer or the Microcare team and let us help just tweak your system to maximize the efficiency, which is based on where the panels are located, and make sure it's pointing in the right direction and the MPPT string configuration is right. But secondly, to make sure you get a return on your investment. We're here to answer your questions and assist you in whatever way we can. And of course, as always, let's chat solar every Tuesday just after 2 o'clock. Check out some of our other videos on YouTube and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next week, bye for now.